Adam Goldberg, a Hillary Clinton supporter, and Jamie Weinstein, a senior writer for the Daily Caller, and Ron Brownstein, CNN senior political analyst. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Ron, is this ad effective?
Well, it's a reminder that, to me, that Hillary Clinton is going to have to defend and define the 1990s. I mean, she really struggled with that, Carol, in the Democratic primary, more from a policy point of view. When Bernie Sanders essentially tried to portray the decade of Bill Clinton's presidency as an abandonment of traditional Democratic values on a whole series of issues. And I think she had trouble kind of drawing a line in the sand. And this is a reminder that Donald Trump and their supporters will try to use the Clinton presidency to further raise questions about her honesty and her trustworthiness and her character, and she has to be able to put forward a more positive narrative about the 1990s, the jobs created, the reductions in poverty, the reduction in the federal deficit, because it is clearly, this is a race where issues have really taken a backseat to kind of personal attributes and assessments. You see all the anxiety of Republicans about Donald Trump's comments, and that is going to be a big battlefield. What were the 1990s about? What was the Bill Clinton presidency about?
So, Jamie, will we expect to see more of these kinds of ads?
Well, I hope if, for Donald Trump's sake, if he wants to win, that they produce ads that are not as boring as this. I mean, there is certainly, as a lot of people would say, Hillary is looked at historically untrustworthy. There's a deep vein that you could get here with her untrustworthiness. But this ad is not catchy. No one's going to email it around. It's kind of boring. They should take a cue from Donald Trump himself and his Instagram messages. Those, whatever you think of them, are provocative. People email them around. Yes, go after her dishonesty, but I'm not sure this is going to get anyone's attention. It's a little boring.
Okay, so Adam, going back to the ad's premise and the untrustworthiness of the Clintons. Adam, the Inspector General, said Clinton did break the rules by using a private email server while she was Secretary of State. This is how she responded to that on ABC. Listen.
You don't accept the conclusions of the report because they say you were unmindful of the rules.
Everybody in the department knew that I was emailing from a personal address. Hundreds of people knew it. People around the government knew it. And, that was what the practice had been, and that's what I did as well.
Adam, isn't that like saying, I speed, everybody speeds, so what's the harm?
Well, no, I think it's a little more than that. I mean, I think the most important thing that came out of the IG's report is that she complied with the law. And it's really important, the fact that she was very open and transparent.
She broke the rules, though. It did say she broke the rules.
It referred to some amorphous policies, but she complied with the law. She did what other secretaries of state did. And more importantly, she was very open and transparent about her use. I think 90% of her emails went to the state.gov address. So people knew what she was doing.
But she did destroy emails, too, right?
Well, I think she delivered all of them. I don't think there's any indication that she deleted any emails that are relevant. And going back to sort of the 90s, I think if Ron is right that this is going to be an election somewhat based on the 90s, I think people remember the 90s and how great the economy was.
I just want to go back to my original question. If she says, everybody knew I was doing it, isn't that like saying, everybody speeds in this zone, so I'm going to speed too, and I don't have to follow the rules because everybody else speeds? And isn't it the same thing?
No, I mean, I think, about the policies, that's different. I think the big main point is, did she break the law? And the answer is no, she didn't. And she was very open and transparent. She never tried to hide what she was doing. She never sent anything that was marked classified, didn't receive anything, I think, that was marked classified. And she handed over the records when she was asked to do so.
Ron, is that true?
Well, I think what she's specifically trying to rebut in that comment is the very devastating conclusion in the IG report that she simply never asked for permission. It would not have been granted. And I think what she was trying to say to George Stephanopoulos is, look, people knew, so presumably they could have raised an objection if they wanted to. I think that's what she was specifically getting at there. But can I just make one other point about this ad, which is that it's really striking to me that the first ad from this PAC is similar to the first ad from the Clinton PAC against Trump in that it's entirely about personal attributes. I mean, the Republican race, we went through the whole Republican race, Carol, and I don't know if we could sit here and tell you the difference between Jeb Bush's tax plan and Donald Trump's tax plan. It somehow never came up. Things that were historically the fulcrum of Republican contests. It became kind of a series of personal attacks and insults back and forth between Trump and his competitors. That's the ground that I think he is most comfortable fighting on. And I am struck that, as this race, it may not be that way all the way, but as this race begins with these two candidates with extraordinarily high negatives, each side seems to think the easiest way forward for them is to further disqualify the other rather than having a policy debate or making a positive case for their own side.
Well, Jamie, you could argue that that's working. I mean, at least for Mr. Trump, right?
Yeah.
No question. His whole Republican primary campaign was labeling other people and branding them something that disqualified him. Jeb Bush was low energy. Ted Cruz lied. And in the case with Hillary Clinton, it's crooked. I think with this ad, we might have seen the nicest ad that's going to be run this campaign. Yeah. We've already seen that Donald Trump wants to go after Bill Clinton and his alleged affairs, and even, as he claimed on one show, alleged rapes. So this is going to be the nicest ad that's run against Hillary. And Donald Trump is going to go very negative, very hard against Hillary to try to disqualify her, paint her as someone who is not only unqualified to be president, but someone who is crooked, who shouldn't even be allowed to be on the stage because of her email server, who should be in jail.
So should we expect Hillary Clinton, Adam, to get even more pointed in her attacks than she was last week?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, although I think her attacks last week were pretty decimating. I think, one important point to remember, and it'd be worthy of and well worth Trump's supporters remembering history, and Ron, I'm sure, remembers this from the 90s, what happened to the Republicans who went after both Bill and Hillary. After the impeachment, Bill had his highest approval ratings, I think, ever. Newt Gingrich was kicked out of office because the Republicans fared really poorly in the elections. Ken Starr, who went after Bill, obviously lost his seat and any potential seat on the Supreme Court. And I think to Jamie's point earlier, if Trump is going to, if they're going to send ads more like, Trump speaking, I don't think the Republicans really want to send racist ads out there, accusing Indiana-born judges of being Mexican and biased and things like that. So, no, I think Hillary's going to be really tough. I think her speech last week was really tough and really effective. And Trump has had a really bad 5 days as a result.
Okay.